Picture this. It's Sunday night. You got 90 lab reports, maybe 90 essays to grade, and you have this sinking feeling that half these students actually didn't get it. They just filled in the blanks, you've graded for hours, and you are discouraged that your students don't understand stuff. There's a better way. Today, we're burning the midnight grading oil and replacing it with something better, the Mastery Viva. We're talking about how to stop grading papers and start having conversations with your students. This is John Bergman with the Reach Every Student podcast. That's the topic of today's episode. So if you've been listening to my podcast recently, you know that I have gone into my cave and I have come up with a way to help address the stupefaction that's happening with students by their incorrect usage of AI. And it has three pillars, right? The Mastery Flip has number one, AI engines, where we use AI in a positive way. Number two, analog roots, where the students use paper and pencil to do work. And old school, the old school is the new school. And step three is human checks. And one of the key elements of the human checks is what I call the Mastery Viva. That Viva is it's Greek or Latin, I don't remember which, for voice. Sometimes I call it a mastery check. So what is this mastery check? I'm going to do that. If you look in the room behind me, you know this is where I do it, right? This is the room, room 229. And here in room 229, what I do is I have high impact 2-minute conversations with my students to check their understanding. And my guess is that you're going, that sounds great, John, but you probably have small classes. I can't do that in my big classes. What's the logistics? How do you make it work? That's the topic of today's episode. That's what we want to talk about is how do I make it work? How do I keep track? You see, I don't actually take papers to grade home anymore. I use these Mastery Vivas, these 2-minute conversations with my students to grade. So how does it work? All right, so I have right here. So each student, paper. I've got a notebook. This is my geology class. The students, first of all, to prevent AI stuff, number one, I want them to do work on hand. It's a flipped classroom, so the students watch a video before they come to class or maybe do a little reading. So they've done that. And then they come to class and they answer some questions. So here I have Unit 11 here. Boom, boom. All right, we're doing stuff. And you can see it's all filled out. This is my filling out, but my students should have something that looks somewhat akin to this. They're going to literally, on these pieces of paper, write out their answers. Got it? They're going to write out their answers. And they're going to do this in the class. Got it? In the class. Because if I send home this, by the way, I've done that. I sent this home. They use AI and they do it with AI. Not helpful. They have not done the mental work to learn. So, but then they work on this in class. And then when they are done, I walk around and I have these 2-minute micro conversations. And I am checking their understanding. And so here I have a section. That's the notes. Here's a question right here that they're going to have to answer. They're going to have to say the question, briefly explain the primary causes of the seasons. So it's a geology class, but I teach them seasons like, fall, winter, spring. And the students are going to respond to that. And there are a myriad of questions on this piece of paper, right? They're going to answer all these questions, all the questions. And I walk up to them and I basically want to do two things. Question number one, I'm going to ask them is explain number 4 to me in your own words. Or whatever. So I'm going to pick one question, and from student A, I do question 4, student B, they get question 3, 5, whatever. So they're going to answer those questions. Got it? That's the deal. They're going to answer the questions verbally to me. You can't fake that. You have to know your stuff. And it's not uncommon, by the way, for me to go to a student and say, I don't think you get this very much. I'll come back when you're ready. Boom, gone. Once they have, now, but let's say they answer the question well, I think, oh, that's good. Couple things. They have a slight misconception. I can pick it up real quick. Then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to help them understand that. Strategy number 2 that also happens is I want to take the question and go a little bit further, push them that's beyond the paper here, and I want them to answer the question, a different question that takes them beyond what they're doing. Make sense? Now, logistics. How do I know if they've done it? Guess what I do is I literally take a marker. I have a marker, a big red marker. Green marker, it doesn't matter. And I sign in big, my name is John Bergman. I put a big JB on their paper. And that means that they have done that. And when they turn the paper in, and we actually turn our paper in as pictures electronically, I can then quickly view my screen and if I see the big JB, they've had this conversation. That's the record that they've had the conversation. And you say, hey, I've got 35 kids to a class, or I was working with some teachers in the Philippines recently, and they have 60 students. How do you have time to get through them all? And the answer is probably you don't. Okay, so let's just say it. So you may not be able to get to every student in every class every day. Couple strategies. One strategy I'll do is if I see that there's a comp of 3 kids, I can kind of rapid fire. I can take that 2-minute Mastery Viva and I can do it in like 3 minutes with 3 kids. And we can just go boom, boom, boom around the circle. And so by clumping them, they're all done with, this is 11.4 or whatever, 11.4, this reason for the seasons. Then they're going to, I can collapse that into a smaller session. Again, this is a formative assessment that I'm doing, but I'm not taking these papers home to grade. And I know really quickly what they understand. Another thing I will do too, for those students who are a little bit more advanced, I'll say, I just want you to ask me a question brand new out of the blue from this content. Especially I'll do that like when they've done a flipped video or a reading. I'll say, what's your question? And then that question so reveals what they do and don't understand about the concept. And it's a super powerful thing. And you'll say, wait, I still don't have enough time. And I struggle with this, or I don't have enough time with my students. And so invariably, I've got kids who are finishing up the paper, the analog roots part, the analog roots thing at the end of class, and there's no time for the 2-minute conversation. What do I do then? All right, I'm experimenting. I don't have the answer for this completely, but I have been thinking about this and brainstorming with my peers across different schools, in fact. And one teacher is using an interesting tool, and I am trying it out like this week, maybe even today. They're coming in 20 minutes or something like that. When my students come in, what I'm going to have is we have a tool. Our tool is called FlintK12.com. And it's a AI like wrapper tool that I can create an activity. So it puts AI over the top of, it puts an activity over the top of AI. Behind it, I think they're using Anthropic or Claude, or I don't know, it doesn't matter to me at some level. So so I have created a prompt, and this is what the prompt said. I want you to act as a oral tester, or to give the students a test where they have to respond with their voice. So that's an option, by the way. They can either type a response, or they could speak a response, or they could speak, or you could. So I've told my prompt basically says they're only allowed to speak, and I've said here is unit 11, right? This unit 11 I was just talking about. Unit 11. Here's all the questions that are in the assignments. First of all, ask them this question: which assignment are you getting an interview about? Boom. 11 point whatever. 11.4. 11.4 has these 8 questions. I'm going to say randomly pick one question, ask them that question. If they get it, they can move on. They're done. But they have to answer verbally, right? None of this like typing, because why am I doing that, by the way? Because my experience is if they type it, what they'll do is they will pause, they'll go to ChatGPT, they'll copy, paste, done. And that's not helpful to them at all. So I want them to verbally say that. Now, there's a potential that they could probably pause, and then read the ChatGPT thing. Now, remember, I'm going to hear their recordings, or if I want to, I can. So this is a backup plan. I'm going to tell them today, in fact, this is kind of the new plan, that they have to, I want them to do it in class with me. It's much better that way. And if they do it with the AI, that's not as good. And I'm going to try and encourage them. If I see a pattern of one student or whatever using the AI almost exclusively, then I will be very careful checking that work. Also on the prompt, I should go back to that. On the prompt, I have uploaded the textbook chapter. So it's trained on that because it's a geology class, but geology we could talk at a PhD level, and my students are high school students, and the textbook is the level that they're at. And so I'm training that AI on that, respond from this information. I've also uploaded the packet, and I've given them it links to the videos that are on YouTube publicly. So the AI is using the information that my students have, as opposed to just going out on the internet or whatever it's trained on and trying to figure out the deepest answer they possibly can. I don't want them to do that. And then what I do is I'll then get reports back from students or from the AI about the students, and I can judge whether or not they do that. By the way, I'll check it is I'll say, I need to see a link to your chat instead of like the signature. That is your option. They upload that to this online turning in platform thing. By the way, we use formative.com. I like that tool, and it's been very effective so far. So That's the logistics. So if you're like that Filipino teacher that I was talking to, you are going to have AI as an assist, right? As a coach for you. And so that's logistically how you can do the Mastery Viva, how you could stop taking papers home to grade. I'm literally grading the papers on the fly in the classroom. My job is to walk around this room. You can see behind me, talk to kids, talk to this kid, change that, and it's exhausting and exhilarating at the same time, because what I could do is as I talk to the kids, it's like, oh, you don't quite get this, boom. And you know what's also happening that's really cool is that I'm really honing my questioning skills about this specific topic. Because, when I used to lecture years ago, right? And I stood up and I did the thing and I talked about, the reasons for the seasons. I had one lecture and then we'd have a Q&A thing kind of with class, and I could just do that once a year, right? I only talked about the reasons for the seasons on one day every year or whatever, it might be 2 days, whatever. But now what I get to do that's super cool is that I practice a question with this student, the first one to finish it or whatever, and then the next one and the next one, and the next one. And then I really have become a much, much better questioner because I'm getting more practice. I'm getting more reps, so to speak, right? And I think my ability to question about these particular topics that I'm talking about is significantly higher than if I was to not do it that way. So you can stop taking papers home to grade. Can you imagine how that would save your life time-wise, teacher? It's exhausting right now. I was with a teacher came to visit me and watch my class some time ago. And, this is my 40th year in education. And she came to me and she said, John, how are you still teaching 40 years later? Uh, I said, do I look that old? And because she was starting to feel burnt out. I think she was in year 20 or I don't know, something like that. And I said, and then after the other day, she basically said, I get it, because you're walking around and just talking to kids. And that's more energizing. It's not this, I've got to keep my kids quiet and stand up and yak at them. And I'm fighting the kid texting his friend or doing the, whatever, all the stuff all the, weird stuff that happens in the sort of classroom dynamics. Do I still have kids who are squirrely? Of all? Yes, of course. Do I have to correct kids for misbehavior? Yes. But it's now much more group stuff. I mean, I still do a little bit of, front and center. Let's talk about what you should be learning. But it's no more, I bet, than 5 minutes. Anyways, I'm getting off of the main topic. The main topic is how do you logistically make the human check of the Mastery Flip work? Remember the 3 elements, the AI engine. And you see I've got an AI engine to help me with this. And then the analog roots, that's paper and pencil. And the human check, which is this Mastery Viva, and that has saved me time, but enriched my classroom beyond the belief. Not just my classroom, it's enriched my relationships with my students, it's enriched my understanding of my content. It's just been such a good thing, and I'm closer to the learning as I walk around and I help my students. And so I wish that for you. I hope that you can start incorporating this in your practice. And if you have questions on how to do that, reach out to me. Go to my website, reacheverystudent.com, and you can find out more. And I hope you are enjoying the podcast. If you enjoy it, please push subscribe, share it with a friend. That'd be awesome. Hey, this is John Bergman. Hey, go out there and reach every student.